This time we've got Anne de Wispelaere, who is the Chief Product Officer from PTV Logistics. Anne, over to you.
Thank you. And let me first congratulate Simone. I really loved the presentation. It was really cool. I also learned that I will be talking about the dirty word, AI, today. So that's also something. So let me start by maybe give you a short word on myself. And for those who prefer to have Teams meetings in these days, there's a 2D version of me up there, so you don't have to look at the 3D version. So in short, I founded Conunda 13 years ago, a company completely focused on route optimization software, last mile, mid-mile, first mile. And 3 years ago, we merged with PTV Logistics to bring the product that actually created a buzz in the Benelux to a more global reach, to make a bigger impact, of course. I think today even though I'm extremely proud of what we created with that route optimization software, I'm not going to talk about that one today. I'm going to talk about something else, and I will introduce it with a little anecdote in the sense that at some point in time, I got invited to a session with HelloFresh, where the US global leader of HelloFresh came to the Netherlands and invited us. So I thought, oh no, he's going to negotiate about the price of our software. We're going to need to explain. But that wasn't the case. Actually, he came to us and he said, well, we've been benchmarking your software because of the price. And we didn't find anybody who did a better solution than yours. So I wonder, why isn't the whole world using your software? That's a nice question, of course, and I think that's what I want to talk about today. So using this kind of software is not easy. It's really solving very complex problems. That's also how we differentiate it, being able to solve more complex use cases than anybody else. Complex being very big or having a lot of rules. But you do need a lot of experience to implement it, to sustain it, and to keep having the value that the software can bring to you. And this is something where we wanted to close the gap. And of course, AI is everywhere now. We saw an opportunity to start using this technology to bridge that gap. So there was this technology called the Model Context Protocol, where you can actually put a layer in between human language and an API. So in essence, you can ask your optimization algorithm how to model something. That was the first purpose. And so we implemented that, and we started seeing things, or I started experiencing things that blew my mind away, because this opened really a lot of opportunities, and we wanted to do it in a different way than others were doing it, because I didn't want, also when we launched somewhere in January, I didn't want people to say, oh, there is PTV with the next agent. Because what we created is not a typical agent. Agents analyze data, summarize, give you reports, and so on. But what we created really bridges the gap between you and the complexity. She doesn't only analyze, she acts. So, and it's a she. We gave her a name, a female name. In logistics, as you can look around, that's maybe a good thing that we have some ladies in there. So we created something that I'm proud of the underlying product. I'm impressed by what this does. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not easily impressed, but in the last few months, I've had several moments that I'm looking at my screen and going like, what? How is this possible? So this is, for me, completely crazy what we now were able to create. In logistics, complexity is one of the biggest challenges, right? It's all about sustainability. You need to change to electrical vehicles. There is a high pressure on margin. Yeah, all kinds of other things. So with the electrification, you also need to kind of synchronize the charging of big trucks with the brakes of drivers, all kinds of things that from an algorithmic point of view, if you have a good team, you are able to solve. But again, it's adding that layer to the user to be able to use it to make it more difficult. And moreover, if you want to do scenarios, you want to make decisions on where to add a depot or anything else, it's extremely difficult, and typically you need a consulting firm to do those kind of exercises for you. So if you look at a couple of questions, example questions, I guess that most of you, if you have a logistical company, of course, that these questions might sound familiar. So where should I add a new depot? How should I actually distribute my vehicles over multiple depots? Especially if they are not heterogeneous, but all different kinds of vehicles. If you choose to put a certain vehicle at a certain depot, you're already making choices. What if you don't need to make those choices? And what if you would be able to ask those questions? What happens if suddenly there is a growth in my market of 10%? How will I need to change my infrastructure? Those kind of questions are very real and very difficult to answer. So, and of course, here is the punchline. What if you could just talk to the optimization engine? In plain English, ask what you need to be done, what you need to be modeled, just in plain English. And actually, to introduce this new way of talking to an optimization engine, I want to show you a very short movie that we created to explain it in 2 minutes.
What if diving into a planning challenge took seconds, not hours? What if every route, every shift, every scenario could be explored through simple conversation? What if decision-making became as natural as asking a colleague a question? Introducing PTV Mira, your AI logistics consultant built on 40 years of logistics expertise and an API-first engine designed for real operational impact. Instead of navigating complex tools or running manual analyses, you just ask. Natural language becomes the fastest way to investigate root causes, test alternatives, and optimize your operations. When other AI agents tell you what happened, PTV Mira investigates why it happened.
I investigate why it happened. I analyze constraints, tests scenarios, recommend solutions, and create optimizations you control through conversation.
She reveals root causes, compares what-if scenarios, and delivers quantified business impact in seconds, seamlessly connecting insight and execution across daily operations and strategic decisions. From planners managing disruptions to executives designing networks, PTV Mira speaks your language and solves your problems. This is not generic AI. This is logistics intelligence built on 40 years of algorithmic expertise. Practical, powerful, and ready to work together. PTV Mira.
All right, so yeah, I hope that's a little bit more clear on what we did. So as said, it's something that if you have, so I come from a supply chain consulting background, so I know what it takes to do these kind of exercises. And the concept here is that any idea that you have on your logistics optimization, any idea that you think of, you can just ask and simulate or optimize or whatever in a few minutes, a few seconds. So it's, for me, a real game changer in how, because you don't need to understand the complexity anymore for the modeling. It's really just explain what you want to happen, explain your situation, and then she will say, I understand it like this, I will model it like that, do you want me to do it? You press yes, and hop, it happens. So it's really something cool. So some examples. Already told you about where to put a depot, so territory redesign, fleet sizing, anything. Just saying what happens if I increase the number of vehicles of this type. But for me, the most important question is really like, even if you have a certain fleet, can you optimize this fleet over all of my depots? And that's something that, in my opinion, but that's, of course, the algorithm needs to be able to do it. But then being able to ask it in a very simple question is a game changer. Asking, what is the effect? So we all know, the previous session was all about speed of delivery and the time windows that end customers expect. So what is the impact of narrowing a time window or making it a little bit wider? And knowing that if you make it a little bit wider, you will get less, the end customer will be willing to pay less for the delivery. Just describing that problem. Investigate for me what happens if I widen the time window with 1 hour in this region and expect to get €1 less if I do that for the delivery. What happens? Scenario gets created. You wait for a couple of minutes that of course, it needs to optimize. And then you get your answer. And that's, yeah, I've been working with an early adapter group of 10 customers. And one of them said, I had a marketing session and they asked me something about growth in certain regions. And I thought, it's a good test case. Let's just take PTV Mira, open it in the session. He prompted the question, and he really, and this is not a sales pitch because I'm not sales, I'm product, and he really got the answer in that meeting, which is also stuff that I did not expect that this would be able to do. So to make it a little bit more tangible, so we had the salesy movie. We also created a small movie, and I will only show one of them on how it works to investigate depots.
Let me show you something interesting about depot network optimization. A customer came to me with a Belgian logistics network, 4 depots, 400 vehicles, serving 2,000 delivery locations. Everything looked fine on the surface, but they asked me a simple question: where should we add a new depot? First, I investigated their current operation. I found routes stretching nearly 500 kilometers from Hasselt down to southern Luxembourg, way above their average. These inefficient routes were costing them about €36 per stop, more than double their network average. Most consultants would make an educated guess, but I don't guess, I test. I created 10 scenarios simultaneously, testing depot locations from Arles to Bruges, from coastal Belgium to the Luxembourg border. Here's where it got interesting. The southern locations I initially identified as problem areas, they weren't the winners. Instead, Liège, in eastern Belgium, delivered the best performance. 3.3% cost savings and over 1,000 kilometers of reduced driving per day. But I wasn't done. With Liège added, I had 5 depots in the network, so I asked the next logical question: which depot can we now remove? I tested removing each depot, one by one. And here's the surprise: removing depots didn't increase costs, it decreased them. The original network needed repositioning. By adding Liège and removing the redundant Brussels depot, we found a configuration that costs 2.6% less than the original. This is investigative logistics consulting, not assumptions, not rules of thumb, systematic testing that reveals insights you wouldn't expect. 4 depots instead of 5, better coverage, lower costs, happier customers. That's what I do. I'm Mira, your AI logistics consultant.
So, of course, adding a depot or removing a depot is something that you don't do every day. So I can guess, oh, okay, that's a tool that you use once in a year. But that's not the case. So I think with the test group, we have now seen that also on an operational level, you want to be able to zoom into problem areas or zoom into your current KPIs and so on. And where in a normal tool, which we also have, you need to define which kind of KPIs all of your customers want. With this application, the customer can say which KPIs they want. They just describe what they want to see. So yesterday I had a customer who said, can you also show me the top 5 routes with the highest number of stops per hour? I just prompted it and the application filtered it. So any definition that you have, anything that you want to see, any histogram on the result that you want to see is possible. So I will skip this one. If you want to see it, you can go to the website, because I'm running out of time. But so, yeah, main thing is, maybe let me just give another example. I've been working with these customers very intensively, and one of them, they had a certain modeling, and I just asked the system, can you tell me something about how the problem is modeled? And the system told me, I see a staggered departure of the vehicles. So I asked, why could that be? And then she also replied with, okay, probably there is a limited number of slots, and they need to spread the departures in the depot. So next question, okay, can you then model this in a different way without really choosing which driver and which vehicle needs to leave at those staggered departures? And then indeed, well, also again, because the algorithm can do it, she modeled this with the work route leveling at the docks, and we got a saving of $500,000 per year for that customer. And that's a saving that, of course, if a consultant is continuously with the customer, we could also find that, but that's not reality. We don't have consultants with each and every one of our customers. And new functionalities go into the system, and as soon as we have a new functionality, an hour later, she understands how it needs to be used and how it can improve the solution of any one of our customers. So it's really teach her once and know it forever kind of thing. So the AI part in that one, or the knowledge bases that we taught her, by the way, we completely needed to limit the AI part, so the LLM part, because AI is very creative and willing to always wants to give an answer. So in the beginning, even stuff that she couldn't do, if she was asked, can you do this? She was like inventing stuff. You've all experienced it if you use ChatGPT or something else, that afterwards you then say, but yeah, this is not true, you're absolutely right. So she had those kind of things in her as well. And we really needed to put her temperature at 0, which is the creativity of the LLM, because we wanted to, it's a mathematical thing, so it needs to be very, very correct. So yeah, to end my presentation, I think it can, I'm fully convinced, so I don't know where it will end. I only know what we can now do by the things that I've tested and this limited set of early adapters tested, but also there I was already amazed by the things that they got out of the system. So know where it started, don't know where it will end, but I do know that it will change a lot of things, and I'm, as said, proud of what we did with the results we achieve in route optimization and the savings we get for our customers. Absolutely impressed by what this technology could now do and can simplify for our customers, and bringing it to a bigger audience, because going back to my initial question, why isn't the whole world using your system? Because it takes a lot of time to implement and it's very difficult to understand. So taking away that barrier, let's see. Thank you.